My name is Captain Ibrahim Traoré, and I am the President of Burkina Faso. What I am about to share with you is not just another boring political story. It is the story of how one angry speech sparked a revolution that is changing all of Africa. And here's the crazy part. It all began with a message that might not even be real. A few days ago, rumors spread about a message supposedly coming from Benjamin Netanyahu, the leader of Israel. The message allegedly warned African leaders to do what we say or else. But here's the twist: I didn't even care if he really said it or not. Just the thought that someone could threaten an entire continent was enough to make me furious. That anger pushed me to act. You see, this so-called message revealed something much deeper. It showed that some people still believe Africa is weak, that our nations will simply obey the commands of powerful outsiders. But I have news for anyone who still thinks that way. Those days are over, and they are never coming back. Now, let me explain why this matters to everyone watching, no matter where you live. What happened wasn't just about one African president getting angry. It was about a continent finally standing up and saying, enough. Enough of hundreds of years of being pushed around, robbed, and treated as less than equal. It all happened in our capital city. A hall full of reporters gathered, cameras rolling, everyone expecting me to deliver a standard, polite political speech. But what they got instead was an earthquake of words that shook the entire world. I walked up to the podium with no written speech in hand. When you speak the truth that has been burning inside you for years, you don't need notes. You only need courage. When I looked into those cameras, I knew I wasn't just addressing the journalists in that room. I was speaking to every African who had ever been told to stay quiet, to every leader who had been pressured to betray their people, to every young African who still dares to dream of true freedom. Then came the moment that no one will forget. I stared into the camera and declared, we are no longer colonies. We are free nations. And if any foreign leader thinks they can intimidate Africa into submission, they are very wrong. The room went silent. You could feel the tension, as if the world itself was holding its breath. And then I said the line that would echo across continents. Let me make this very clear. Mr. Netanyahu, Burkina Faso does not take orders from Israel. We do not take orders from America. We do not take orders from anyone who thinks they can buy us or bomb us into obedience. If you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. Africa is not yours to threaten. What happened next was astonishing. Within minutes of my speech, the video spread like wildfire. But it wasn't just going viral, it was transforming into a battle cry. Young people in Mali began sharing it everywhere. Farmers in Niger watched it on their phones, feeling pride like they hadn't felt in years. Students in Guinea translated it into local languages. In South Africa, my words became protest songs. Then came the shockwave from other African leaders. Colonel Goita of Mali didn't just repost the video. He added his full agreement. The president of Guinea publicly voiced his support across social media. Hashtags like #Africa will not bow and #We stand with TRA or EACute exploded, not only across Africa but around the world. This was no longer just a speech. It was the awakening of a continent that had been waiting for someone to light the fire. And people ask me, why now? Why choose this moment to speak so boldly instead of handling things quietly, with secret meetings and diplomatic whispers? The truth is simple. That approach has failed Africa for over 60 years, since independence. We played by everyone else's rules. We wrote polite letters while our gold and oil were stolen. We attended international meetings where we were treated like children. We signed agreements that made foreign companies rich, while our people stayed poor. We stayed silent while military bases were built on our land without the consent of our people. That so-called polite approach brought us nothing but continued exploitation, dressed up in prettier words. And so I decided enough was enough. Africa would no longer whisper. Africa would roar. When I heard about Netanyahu's supposed warning, whether real or fake, I realized it was just another version of the same message Africa has received. For hundreds of years, it was every threat, every trick, every arrogant assumption that we would simply obey out of fear. And something inside me, something that represents every African who refuses to be scared, exploded. I refuse to be the kind of leader who smiles and nods while his continent is disrespected. I refuse to smile for the cameras while foreign countries make plans to steal our resources. I refuse to stay silent while anyone anywhere thinks they can threaten 1.4 billion Africans. But here's what makes this moment historic and why it is making powerful people nervous. This is not happening in isolation. Across our region, something incredible is taking place. Mali expelled French soldiers. Niger removed foreign military bases. Burkina Faso ended agreements that served outsiders, but not our people. These are not isolated acts of rebellion. Together, we are building something new and powerful. We call it the self-reliance. But it is far more than military cooperation. It is Africa declaring that we will control our own future. When I spoke those words to Netanyahu, I wasn't just speaking as the president of Burkina Faso. I was speaking on behalf of a growing movement that is reshaping everything. And here is what truly frightens world powers. We are only getting started. The self-reliance represents something revolutionary: Africans solving African problems. By Africans, for African people. We are sharing information, working together on security, building partnerships that keep African wealth in Africa. We are proving that we don't need foreign military bases to be safe. What we need is unity and strength. And yet, my fight with Netanyahu was never really about Israel. It was about sending a message to all global powers who treat Africa as a treasure chest to plunder. It was about telling America that we will not blindly follow them into every conflict. It was about telling France that the colonial era is finished forever. It was about telling China that partnership must mean equality, not dependency. The silence that followed my speech was deafening. Israel's government said nothing, no denial, no clarification, no official statement. That silence revealed their shock at being challenged openly by an African leader. Western media tried to ignore it entirely. Why? Because it doesn't fit their narrative of Africa as a continent in need of saving or managing. They are comfortable showing images of African leaders who bow, who beg, who obey. They don't know how to process African leaders who stand tall and speak with power. But social media is different. Social media has no gatekeepers to bury the truth. Young Africans shared my speech millions of times. They translated it into dozens of languages. They turned my words into art, music, and poems. My message became a continental conversation about dignity, freedom, and the future we are building together. Here's the most extraordinary part. I never set out to become a symbol of African resistance. I am simply a soldier from Burkina Faso who believes his people deserve respect. Yet when I see the messages flooding in from young people saying my words gave them hope, from elders who say I reminded them of the independence leaders they once followed, from mothers saying they feel proud again to be African, I know this is bigger than me. This is about remembering who we are. It is about reclaiming our destiny. We are the children of the pharaohs who built pyramids that still defy time. We are the descendants of the Mali Empire, so wealthy it once collapsed gold markets abroad. We are the heirs of Queen Zinga, who resisted colonizers for decades. We carry the legacy of leaders like Patrice Lumumba and Thomas Sankara, who gave their lives rather than betray their people. For too long, we've been told to forget this greatness, to be grateful for whatever scraps the world chooses to give us. But that time is over. The self-reliance is rising. More leaders are joining. More young people are demanding change. More communities are refusing to accept poverty while sitting on unimaginable wealth. The awakening that began with my words to Netanyahu is spreading like wildfire across the continent, and nothing can extinguish it. So let me be clear to those world leaders who still think they can bully Africa. Your threats no longer scare us. Your economic pressure no longer controls us. Your military interventions no longer solve our problems. We have learned to stand on our own. And when we stand together, nothing can stop us. To my African brothers and sisters, know this: we are living through the most important moment in modern African history. The choices we make now will determine whether our children inherit a free, wealthy, united Africa, or remain trapped in systems designed to keep us weak and divided. Talk about this in your communities. Share this message. Support leaders who fight for dignity instead of foreign approval. Demand that your governments put African partnerships above foreign interests. Never forget you belong to the greatest continent on earth. We have resources that can transform the world, and people whose creativity and resilience have survived. Everything history has thrown at us, the future is being written now. And for the first time in centuries, Africans are holding the pen. My clash with Netanyahu was only the beginning. What happens next will determine whether Africa rises to its rightful place or stays chained to systems of exploitation. But one thing is certain, we have crossed a line, and there is no turning back. The old Africa, the one that accepted orders, bowed to outsiders, and obeyed without question is gone. The new Africa, free, proud, united, and unstoppable, is rising, and no amount of threats, sanctions, or pressure will stop what has already begun. This is our moment, this is our time, and this is only the beginning of a new chapter the world is not ready for, but will soon be forced to face. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Africa is ready to stand as one? Hit the like button if you stand with African unity, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the stories that change history.